All right, everybody, how's your day going? I hope you're having a fantastic day out there. I'm not doing too bad myself. Out here in the Viper and making some more videos for you guys. So today's topic, I want to talk about the top 5 things that I hate about my Dodge Viper. Because as much as I love this car, there are definitely some things that I don't care for on this car. So number 5 on my list has to be when people ask me, is that a Corvette? I can't tell you how many times I've been somewhere and people have thought that this was a Chevy Corvette. And I get it, you know, it's a sports car, it's American, it must be a Corvette. But seriously, this generation in particular, I mean, it looks nothing like any Corvette of any generation. It's not like the 2003 to 2010 Gen 3 and Gen 4 Vipers that, yeah, I can see the kind of similarities to the C6 Corvette, but really, no, they're not the same. So that's number 5 on my list, is when people assume this car is a Corvette. I mean, it even says Viper on the sides and on the back, so it doesn't get much more clear than that. And there's no Corvette cross flags anywhere here on this car. So number 4 on the list has to be, and this one this one's kind of weird, is I don't like the fact that the prices on these cars have stayed suppressed so much. It was great for me when I bought this car because it made for a great deal. And it's not like I'm going to sell the car, so the value of the car really shouldn't bother me much. But at the same time, with as iconic and historic as this car is, and the racing pedigree that it has, and other types of cars from this era that are starting to take off in value, I'm really surprised at the price point on these cars. So this is probably something that'd be on a number of people's list of great things about this car, is the fact that it's still reasonably priced. I mean, there's most Gen 2 Vipers you can probably pick up in the 40s, somewhere in the 40K range, low to mid 40s. Of course, ones like the 96 you're going to spend more on just because of the color and the first year production. But generally the prices have stayed pretty flat for the last 10 to 15 years on these cars. And the 96s are definitely creeping up. Some of the other Gen 2s are definitely starting to creep up in value. So it's only a matter of time. So if you're thinking about buying a Gen 2 Viper, you might want to do it sooner rather than later, because now that classic cars are typically 25 years and older, this car is 24 years old. It's going to be 25 in a couple of months. And so it's definitely the time to go ahead and get your hands on one before it's too late and the prices skyrocket, because I have a feeling these cars eventually will take off in price. So enough with that rant on the pricing, because like I said, it's good for some, bad for others. Me, I'm kind of indifferent on, but at the same point, it makes the list. But I digress. Number 3 on the list has to be when people ask me which engine I have in my car. And the Viper has only had one option, and that's a V10. Now the displacement's changed over the years, but at the end of the day, it's always been an all aluminum constructed V10 engine, and not a V8, not a V12, not anything in between, just a V10. And I can't tell you how many people have argued with me that there were other engine options available. I'm like, no, there's not. It's only been a V10. And the worst one I had, I was at a gas station a few years back, and I actually had a Chrysler Tech come and ask me which engine I had in it. And I told him they only have a V10, and he argued with me about it. I'm like, you're a Chrysler Tech. You should know there's only been a V10 engine in these cars. I hope that Tech was not a Viper Tech, because I do not want to trust somebody who doesn't know the very basics on the characteristics and design of the car with working on my car. So I was very surprised that even a Chrysler Tech thought that there were other engine options available, and it's definitely something that really bugs me is when people argue with me about which engine is in the car. So I'll even pop the hood and show them 10 spark plugs. That's all there is. Go online, any brochure, any book, anything's gonna tell you there's only been a V10 in these cars. All right, number 2 on my list for the top 5, sorry, not 10 things. There aren't 10 things I hate about this car. So the number 2 on my list for the top 5 things I hate about the Dodge Viper has to be the brakes. And when this car came out, sure, the plan was to make a modern version of the Cobra with as little amenities as possible. And Chrysler is definitely historically not known for making great brake systems on their cars. I mean, back in the 60s, the only reason why they went to a dual master cylinder on their muscle cars was because it was federally mandated. And so the brakes definitely leave a lot to be desired. I mean, the front brakes, they're pretty good. I mean, it's a Brembo 4-piston caliper, so it's a pretty good setup, especially for the 90s. But the rear brake is a single piston cast iron caliper that I think came off of the Dakota. And so it definitely leaves a lot to be desired. And so if you watch my video on brake upgrades for the Vipers, you know that there are a lot of options out there to upgrade the brake systems on these cars. And I mean, even these this year didn't even have ABS. ABS didn't come into play until 2001. And the car had been in production for 9 years before they added anti-lock brakes to it. And so it's definitely the biggest weak point in the overall performance has to be the brake system. And it's definitely something I will be upgrading on mine in the future. And I've got the brackets to put the GM Brembo rear 4-piston brakes off of the CTSV or I believe it's the Camaro ZL1. So I might go that route. I'm also really like the StopTech system. The StopTech system is the ideal way to go, in my opinion, because it was designed specifically for a 4-piston setup, 4-wheel, for the Viper to clear the stock 17s. And so I have always loved the StopTech system. I'll probably, even though I have the brackets already for the other system, I'll probably end up going with the StopTech system just because it's a super well-balanced setup and I really like it. So that's number 2 on my list is the brakes. And then number 1 on my list, which you know if you watched some of my other videos, is also a huge pet peeve of mine. Is the number 1 thing that I hate about this car. And it's not even necessarily about the car, but it's the tire option availability for the stock 17s. And there just aren't a lot of tire options out there, which I totally understand. I mean, this is the only car out there that's running a 335 on a 17-inch wheel on the back of their car and a 275 on the front. So it's definitely a limited market. They didn't make a lot of Vipers that have this setup. I mean, it's only from 92 to 97, I think. I believe 98 was the year they switched to the 18s. And so I understand why Michelin only does limited production runs, but unfortunately, at the end of the day, it means long term, I'm probably going to end up having to replace the stock 17-inch wheels with an 18-19 combo like the Gen 3, 4, and 5 Vipers did, just so that way there are more tire options around and I can continue to enjoy the car. It's just finding the right wheel and tire for this car. I kind of liked the Gen 5 Sidewinder 2s in the Hyper Black, the black chrome finish. Those look really good. I have a couple of friends that have put them on their 96s. That's the only reason why I lean against it, though, is because I have friends that are already running that wheel setup. I also like the idea of going with a forged line with a center hub conversion, but now, of course, instead of spending like $2,000 or $3,000 on a set of wheels, I'm spending like $8,000 on a set of wheels, and so that's definitely a much bigger pill to swallow. It would look really amazing on this car, but at the same time, it's a bit of overkill. So time will tell what I end up doing on the wheel situation to combat the tire situation. But yeah, the number 1 thing I hate about these cars, definitely the tire situation on the factory 17-inch wheels on the early Vipers. And that's my list of top 5 things that I hate about the Dodge Viper. And I hope you found this video entertaining and informational. If you did, go ahead and smash that like button, give us a thumbs up, help us out with that YouTube algorithm, get our videos out there for more people to share. And as always, if you want to be kept up to date with all my future videos, don't forget to smash that subscribe button down below and ring that notification bell as well, so that way YouTube will keep you up to date of all the videos I do in the future. And if you have any comments, thoughts, put those in the comments section down below, because I read all of your comments. I'm definitely interested in what you guys have to say, and definitely take time to read all of your comments. And as always, guys, I will see you the next video.